Chapter 7. Anchor in the Storm. Where was he? Where had he gone? Chris's parents had taken him home the day before, that's what I heard when I came back to school. When would he return? There were so many things he still needed to know about me. Fate and time were playing their part well. I couldn't return to Kris on Monday, but now that I had, he wasn't here. It felt so unfair. Meanwhile, Max pushed his way into our class, though there were only a few months left of the school year. He took Chris's seat in his absence. I couldn't deny him, considering I was the only one he knew in the class. Sure, there was Kat, but she had become a shadow of Joe, absorbed in her own world. When the bell rang, I walked with Max to the corridor. I couldn't bear being in class without Kris. I leaned against the wall to enjoy the drizzle, and Max did the same. I like the school very much, Max said, his voice light as he played in the rain. Yeah. I think no other place in this world is as awesome as this. I too played in the rain. Everything in the subjects has changed a lot. All the content seems to be more advanced, but math still looks the same to me, he said cheerfully. Oh, replied blankly, but after a minute, what? I was shocked. Have you lost your mind? You studied this before? Yes. Before 30 years exactly. Before 30 years. It's impossible, I said, thinking he must be around 19 or 20. I racked my brain. Don't you remember that I'm a big W boy, he said, raising an eyebrow. He mouthed werewolf silently. So what? I shrugged my shoulders. We have longer lifetime than others. We stay young after our awakening, till our death to gain more and more strength, he whispered in my ear, just inches away from me. I could feel it then, the warmth emanating from him. It was an unknown sensation, something only he could give me, like a mother, a father, a friend, everything. I stepped back from Max, pushing the swirling thoughts away, when I caught sight of Daniel. He passed me without even acknowledging my presence. I realized that Dan hadn't been in class all morning. Dan. Daniel, I called out to him, my voice louder than I intended. Nearly everyone in the room turned to look. He stopped in his tracks. Dan, where is Kris? I asked, my voice filled with anticipation, my eyes scanning the room, hoping to catch a glimpse of those blue eyes. Daniel slowly turned to face me. How are you, Safi? He asked, his tone a bit distant. I'm good. Where is Kris? He returned, didn't he? Or, my voice trailed off as I noticed the negative expression on his face. No, Saf. He hasn't returned yet, Dan said, shaking his head slowly. When will he come? I asked everyone this morning, but no one knows where he is, I said, my voice filled with frustration. I hadn't asked Dan yet since he had come late to class. Maybe next week, Dan replied, almost as if he were forcing the words out. What? No. 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 It can't be, I exclaimed, desperately searching his eyes for any hint of a lie. But sadly, yes. You see, he has some important job to take care of. You can surely see him on Wednesday, Dan assured me, trying to offer a comforting smile. No, I can't wait that long. His birthday is coming up this Monday. I've planned so many things, and he knows about all of them, I said, my voice growing shaky. The thought of him not being there for his own birthday was unbearable, and my eyes started to fill with tears. Safi, Max's voice was calm yet firm as he appeared next to me, gently caressing my hands, grounding me back into the moment. Who is this? Dan asked eagerly. I'm Max. Max straightened his hands to him. But Dan's attention shifted to me, his brows slightly raised, waiting for an explanation. After a brief pause, I hesitated but finally said, he is my cousin, I said after a while. Oh. Hey, I'm Dan. Dan's features changed. He took Max's hands, returning to his good mood again. 3 days had dragged on, painfully slow in a way no one could understand. Everything felt hollow. Max's presence was the only thing keeping me grounded, his company stirring my little mind to stay active. He was kind, caring, and good each day, bringing us closer together mentally. Meanwhile, others had found plenty to gossip about: Kris's absence, the handsome newcomer, and the supposed nature of our relationship. But none of that mattered to me. Right now, the only thing consuming my thoughts was Kris. The bell rang, pulling me out of my reverie. Kat strolled by, tossing her bag onto me with a bump before walking off with Joe. "Saf, give it to me." "I'll take it," Max offered. "It's okay. Not that much heavier, you see." I lifted the bag up and down. "Then I'll take yours," he offered. "It's all right." "No," but before I could finish, he was too quick and had already taken my bag. "Let's move," I said, turning to face him. Just then, I heard Dan's voice. He was on his phone, speaking to someone. But who? My heart skipped a beat. Without thinking, I rushed to him and snatched the mobile out of his hands. "Hello. Hello. Kris, there." "Kris," I shouted, completely out of my mind. "Sorry. This is Alex." "May I know who is this?" A matured male voice answered on the other end. Dan grabbed his mobile and ended the call abruptly. "What's wrong with you, Saf? Are you mad?" Dan yelled. "I'm sorry, so sorry, I thought it was Kris. Tomorrow is his birthday. I'm losing my mind. Do you have his number?" I sniffed a little, trying to hold back the tears. No, I was actually speaking to his dad. He answered Kris's phone. When I was about to ask him about Kris, "You came," Dan said, looking at me with pity. "Oh. I'm very sorry," I said softly. "Don't worry, you can see him after 4 days. I'll see you later." He departed as fast as he could. Someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned to see Max's frightened face. "Who is Kris?" He is my friend," I stammered, avoiding his gaze. "Really? Are you sure?" Max's eyes narrowed as he read right through me. Yeah. He is my friend, my love and my everything," I admitted, unable to hold back the tears any longer. Max silently took my hands, his warmth comforting me as I cried. My tears eventually slowed, and we started walking towards the dorm. At the entrance, Max stopped. He opened his mouth to speak, but the moment his eyes met mine, he closed it again. "What?" "Speak out," I demanded. "I need to speak with you. Get changed and come down." "I'll be right back," Max said firmly. I nodded, grabbed my bag from him, and nearly ran to my room. After washing my face, I quickly changed into a shirt and casual pants. Without even realizing it, I found myself rushing back down to meet him. I obeyed him instinctively. There he was, sitting on a rock. As soon as he saw me, he stood up. From there, we started walking. "So, how did you convince Kat?" he started. "You know Uncle is deeply interested in social services," I began. "We told her you needed to be educated and that you finally got a scholarship to this school. Actually, she was really happy that Uncle is helping you get an education," I said, a hint of pride in my tone as I spoke about her. "I didn't know she was that good," he chuckled softly. "I thought she never even realized I existed in that house." She doesn't easily involve herself in other people's affairs," I admitted, but then a sudden pang of guilt crept over me. "What happened?" he asked, noticing the change in my expression. "I've never hidden anything from her before," I confessed, feeling the weight of keeping secrets. I've always shared even the smallest, silliest things. Oh, don't worry. It's for her own good, he said, trying to soothe me. Yeah, you're right, I replied, though my thoughts began to drift once again into the depths of that unknown world. We walked deeper into the woods together, the stillness of the trees broken only by the crunch of leaves beneath our feet. I couldn't help but feel a sense of safety whenever I was with him, protected in a way I couldn't explain. There was also an urge bubbling inside me, a longing to share everything with him, every thought, every worry. I'd never felt this way about him back at home. All those years, he had been the one quietly bringing us to school in our hometown, a steady presence I'd barely noticed. But now, here we were, studying in the same school together. Thinking back to how it all lined up, it felt like fate had been playing its part perfectly, threading our lives together in ways I had never anticipated. Safi, can I ask you something? He began cautiously. Sure, I replied in a jiffy. What about Kris? He asked bluntly, catching me off guard. What about him? I echoed, feigning indifference. You can't be with him. I mean, he is not your soulmate, he said slowly. Anger flared within me. He is my love and the so-called soulmate. No one can enter my life. It's him, only him. He is my life and I can't think of anyone else. Anyhow, the soulmate of mine, he is going to die, isn't it? So, don't worry, I spat out, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. No, Safi. It's more complicated than you think, he countered, his tone growing heavier, more dangerous. You will forget all your love or infatuation when you see your mate. It's not something you can resist. It's a bond so strong, so unbreakable, like you're physically and mentally bound to him. Okay. Then what about that couple Uncle mentioned? I forgot their names. Didn't they end up killing each other? I pressed, searching for more loopholes in his explanation. Well, he didn't tell you exactly what happened between them, Max said, his voice calm yet grave. They loved each other deeply, more than anything. They even had a child together. But later, they were separated and trained in their secret society. Specialized monks and warriors took charge of them. However, no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't sever their bond. It's unbreakable, Safi, he paused, his eyes locked onto mine. When they fought, they had to do it with their eyes closed. You see, the eyes hold the strongest connection to a mate's power, they reflect and attract it. They're a mirror of your possessing powers. I nodded slowly, trying to process his words. And in the end, you noticed there was no victor, he added solemnly. A chill crept up my spine, not from the breeze, but from fear. I wasn't strong, nor was I skilled in fighting. I didn't have the endurance or courage they must have had. I didn't know where this path would lead me. We walked in silence, the weight of his words hanging between us. Soon, we reached the sands. The cold breeze kissed our faces, and I began to shiver. I had left my jacket in the room. Are you all right, Saf? Max asked, gripping my shoulder gently, concern etched on his face. Yeah. Fine, I stammered, my teeth clattering uncontrollably. Max grabbed my palms and began to rub them gently, his warmth flowing into me. It was unlike anything I'd felt before, an unknown comfort that made me feel safe, like I belonged. I couldn't bring myself to pull away. He wrapped his arm around my shoulders, and I felt an immediate surge of strength. We resumed walking, his warmth shielding me from the biting cold. How you feel now? He asked. Loads better. How can you do this, without my teeth clattering? Are you forgetting I may? He trailed off, leaving the sentence unfinished, though I already knew what he meant. Yeah. Hot too, the words slipped out of my control. Is it so? He asked, his eyebrows shooting up in surprise, a smirk tugging at his lips. I meant about that. The warmness, I quickly corrected, my face heating as I realized what I'd just implied. All right, he said, rolling his eyes dramatically, though a trace of amusement lingered on his face. A sudden thought struck me, and without thinking, I blurted, "Can you morph?" "What?" He looked at me, startled. "I said that I want to see your morphing. Please," I pleaded, my voice soft but insistent, my eyes wide with curiosity. He hesitated, his expression unreadable. "As you wish," he said, stepping away from me. I couldn't help the small disappointment that washed over me. He smiled at me, taking a step back. That smile. It made my heart skip a beat, and yet, something about it bothered me. I couldn't quite place it. Then, without warning, he stopped, and to my surprise, he removed his shirt. My breath caught in my throat. I had to blink to make sure I wasn't imagining things, six-pack abs. Oh my God. I stared at him shamelessly, my eyes tracing the contours of his body. Unlike Mr. George, whose transformation was graceful, Max's face flushed violet, and a visible struggle overtook him. With a sudden, intense shift, he morphed into a wolf form. A wild, imposing creature, its golden eyes glowing in the dark. He stalked towards me, and even though I knew it was Max, my heart raced as I saw the sharpness of his teeth. He growled softly and took another step closer. Fear gripped me, but I held my ground, my hand reaching out instinctively. As I touched him, his growl softened, and I felt the unexpected softness of his fur. His neck was thick, dark brown, almost like chocolate, and I stroked it gently. He let out a satisfied moan, then, without warning, he began to lick my face. I couldn't help but burst out laughing as I tried to pull away. "Max! Max! Stop! Enough, Max! Please!" In an instant, he transformed back into his human form, and with the same swift movement, he fell on top of me. I shivered, not from the cold, but from the intense warmth that radiated off him. His fingers traced my face, and an unexpected sharp pain coursed through me. I recoiled slightly, trying to push him away, but he was too strong, too close. My mind screamed, "Kris! Kris!" violently for help, but the words felt like they were trapped inside me, unable to escape. "Safrine," an angry voice called out, and I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Max immediately stood in front of me, his stance protective, as if ready to shield me from whatever was coming. I glanced up, and there she was, Ms. Rose, standing about 10 feet away, her expression a storm of fury. Max remained calm, facing me, his presence somehow reassuring despite the chaos. "Miss Safrine," Ms. Rose barked, her voice dripping with venom. "I warned you once. If I ever saw you with him, I said you were going to be expelled, but you never took it seriously. You are out. Do you hear me?" Her words were harsh, like a whip crack. "But Ms. Rose, this isn't what it looks like," I tried to explain, but before I could say more, she grabbed my arm roughly, dragging me away from Max. I struggled against her grip. "Rose, let me explain. You're mistaken," I called out, hoping for some understanding. She didn't listen. Her grip tightened, and she pulled me harder. "Rose," Max's voice rang out sharply, commanding her to stop. She froze mid-step, and without turning around, she let go of me. Then, to my complete surprise, she turned and rushed toward him. "Max, my dear," Ms. Rose wrapped her arms around him in a tight hug, her face lighting up as if she were greeting an old friend. Max responded with a wide, almost amused smile, as though this was the most normal interaction. "How are you?" he asked, his tone warm. "Fine. And you? She asked, her voice sweet. I stood there, stunned, my mind trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Max, the boy who was barely a teen, was being embraced by Ms. Rose, who must have been in her 30s. They acted like they were childhood friends, and it was all too strange to wrap my mind around. What was going on here? Good. You never informed. It's been so long, she said, giving him a playful punch on the arm. Yeah. I joined this school. Never had time, and you weren't out of your cage, Max replied casually, his tone light. Okay. Come, let us have some tea, Ms. Rose said, as if they were in their own little world. They crossed arms, much like a married couple, and began walking toward me. Oh. Safrine, I forgot you were here too, she added, her tone now overly sweet, almost too sweet, like she was putting on an act. Join us, she gestured for me to follow. Still in shock, I trailed behind them, trying to process everything that had just happened. Max and Rose made an odd pair, but I couldn't put my finger on why it felt so strange. We reached a small sitting area, and Max sat beside me, while Rose took the seat across from us. She poured 3 cups of tea and handed one to me with a warm smile. Thanks, I replied, a bit hesitant, but trying to maintain politeness. So, Rose started, turning her gaze toward Maximum. When you're here, who is protecting the others? Her question was directed at him, not even sparing me a glance. Dex will stay there. And if you want, go to our mansion. I'll take care here, Max responded with an air of authority, more like an order than a suggestion. Rose raised an eyebrow, looking at him curiously. Well, I'm kind of comfortable here. But if an alpha says I can't deny, could I? She smirked, the challenge evident in her voice. Are you an alpha? I asked, turning to Max with wide eyes. The question had slipped out before I could stop it, but I couldn't help myself. The way he spoke to her, the authority in his words, it was impossible to ignore. Yes, Saf. Max's voice was smooth, and the way he said it made me blush, so I quickly turned to face Ms. Rose. Her gaze was sharp, her eyes full of something like disdain or even hatred. Well, I leave this to you, Max continued, his tone indifferent. If you want to stay, stay. Otherwise, it's your choice. He stood up to leave, but before he could walk away, Ms. Rose touched his shoulder. He shrugged it off, clearly uninterested. Of course, I want to stay, she said, but the words felt like a calculated move, as if she were marking territory. Max didn't respond. Instead, he simply said, all right then. Good night, as he took my hand to lead me out. But before we could leave, Ms. Rose reached out suddenly and yanked my hand from his grip. I winced, groaning in surprise. What are you doing? Max stepped forward, trying to grab my hand back, but Ms. Rose swiftly moved it out of his reach, causing me to stumble. Oh, it's nothing. I just need to have a word with her, Ms. Rose said, pulling my hand roughly. I twisted in her grip, trying to break free. I said no. I shook my head behind her, but she ignored me completely, her grip tightening. Max, now visibly irritated, watched us for a moment before speaking up. You can say that to her in my presence. Ms. Rose smirked, unbothered by his words. Oh, it's a girl-to-girl talk, she said with a grin, her tone dripping with condescension. Max crossed his arms over his chest, standing firm. Oh, then let her decide whether I can stay or not, he replied, his voice low but unwavering. I looked between them, feeling caught in the middle of something bigger than me. Without giving much time to think, I replied, yeah, he can stay. But, she turned towards me. No, he must stay. I released from her holds and moved swiftly to his side, which always made me feel protected. He looked happy at my words. Now tell me, If you wish, then no problem to me. Your shirt's buttons are missing, Miss Safrine. She pointed at my collarbone. Quickly I covered my bare skin with my hands. Safrine, you are such a talented girl. First Kristen and now Max. Good. Walking in the woods with boys, no buttoned shirt, having them on top of you. You little whore, she hissed between her teeth and pierced her words like a knife with disgust. I felt so ashamed, covered my skin with other hand too. Max put his hands around me and pulled me towards him. He broke from me, which made me feel worse. Again, I held my hands to the shirt, which revealed my innerwear. Max unzipped his jacket and tried to lower my hands, but I refused to do so. Safi, I'm seeing you from your childhood. I feel very protected of you. Even though you are nude, I will try to protect your dignity and reputation. Will never think of you like that. I will stay with you as a father, mother, friend, or whatever you want me to be. Trust me. He placed his hand on my head and caressed me. I lowered my hands slowly. As if like a mother, he gently took my hand and inserted the jacket, did the same with the other. He zipped it, which was up to my chin. He wrapped me around him. Then he ferociously turned to Ms. Rose. You, get out of my sight. How dare you to hurt her like that? You knew exactly that she is my mate. Never and ever interfere in her matter. I'll take care of her from now on. Your duty is over here. Go to Mr. George and do the rest there, he shouted at her violently. I never saw this side of him. Come on, Saf, he said, gently guiding me out. We walked in silence, his presence comforting as he escorted me to the second floor. Sorry, Saf. I can't shake her off, she's been my friend since childhood, he said, his voice filled with apology. It's all right. I'm sorry about that too. It is that. No one's spoken to me like that before. So, it hurt badly, I replied, though I couldn't completely shake the heaviness in my chest. No need to apologize, miss, he bowed a little. Automatically I corrected him, Safi. He laughed. Right. Safi. Got it. His expression shifted a little as he added, she is interested in you, she fancies you. What? He looked at me, clearly shocked. Yes, she's jealous whenever I catch your attention. Her body language changes, and she giggles like crazy when you're around, I said, unsure how to put it delicately. No way. Are you kidding? She knows that you are my mate. He stopped in his tracks, his mouth closing quickly as if he'd said too much. What's that again? I laughed a little rather than shock. Just lost control my mouth. He gave me an odd look. Oh. You already revealed that in Rose's office, I reminded him. Did I, really? He gave me a questioning look. Yes, I can feel that we have some bond, but never thought that I would be your mate. I started to accept all the mysteries in my life. But Safi, you're so cool. I thought you'd panic when you heard this, but you proved me wrong, he grinned. I would have, if I were the old me. Something hit me suddenly, Max. I'm sorry that you can never get your girl. I gave him an apologetic look. I already got her, he said, a smile spreading across his face. What are you blabbering about? I got confused. I know that you could never be mine. It was your love I want. Not your lust, he said softly. I shook my head, tears welling up in my eyes. It hurts, Safi, but not now. The moment you lowered your hand a few minutes ago, I can see the pure trust and love in there. No. Not the love you have for Kris. It looked different. Really, Safi. And today I promise you that I will never break that trust, he swore. I hugged him tightly. It looked different because I see my mother in you.